Hello everyone, welcome to UPSC Warriors channel. I hope you're all doing good, right? This is Soundarya. So today we are going to discuss a very interesting topic, that is an economic case study of Bengaluru, and we are going to explore what made Bengaluru to achieve what it is today, to be called as the Silicon Valley of the country, and with experts like Amitabh Khan hailing it as a very prime location to develop this particular Bengaluru-Mysuru belt as a semiconductor hub. Then it is the right time for us to discuss each and everything that favored this transformation and the future prospects. So without much delay, let's get into the topic now, and this is something which can be very helpful for you to follow the Bengaluru Technology Summit that is going to happen in November 2024. So this session is going to be divided under two heads, where we are going to see a quick historical background of what things that favored Bengaluru to achieve this particular condition or status, and in the next video I'm going to discuss about the prospects of Bengaluru-Mysuru belt region to become the semiconductor hub of the country, right? Okay, so before going to that, we know Bengaluru is called as the Silicon Valley. So now I'm going to give some of the basics about what is Silicon Valley, what is basically silicon, and what is microprocessor, so that we can understand the coming videos very clearly, right? Okay, so what is the Silicon Valley? We will see that, and we know that Bengaluru is one of the top technological hubs in the Asia Pacific region. We have places like Beijing in the list, we have Tel Aviv of Israel in the list, right? So Bengaluru is also one of the top 10 technological hubs in the Asia Pacific region. So what made it possible for that? Let's see it now. So basically, what is this term called as Silicon Valley? This particular term refers to a place that is located in the South San Francisco. Okay, so what is so special about the Silicon Valley? It is the global center of technological innovation, which also hosts dozens of major technological and software and internet companies, right? So why it is so? It is mainly because of its availability of the important resources called as the silicon, and so it is named as the Silicon Valley. Why? Because silicon is something which is used in almost all the electronic devices that we use on a daily basis, right? So it is something which forms a basic component of the microprocessor, that is the brain of the computer. So that is why this particular region is called as the Silicon Valley. And why do we say Bengaluru as the Silicon Valley? One thing, by the name we came to know that it is having the resources that it is needed for establishing all these things. And second thing, it is also becoming, it is also one of the important centers to host n number of IT firms, right? Okay, so if we talk about the particular place, Bengaluru, in 1990s, where in 1991 to 92 to 93, we hardly had 13 companies with 2000 employees working in the software field, right? But now we have more than 1400 IT firms with 4 million employees working in the particular region. So this shows that Bengaluru has already become an hub of these particular technological centers, and let's explore what are the factors that contributed to it, right? Okay, but before moving into that, we will see quickly about what is silicon and what is a microprocessor, right? See, we know that silicon is a chemical element, and this is the atomic number, that is 14, that is fine. So the property of the silicon is such that it is hard, brittle and crystalline, and so it finds its application in making semiconductors, in making microprocessors, right? So it is the second most abundant element on earth and is found in mainly minerals including sand and quartz, mainly minerals including sand and quartz. So where do we use this silicon? As I already told you, it is used as a semiconductor material, okay, to create electronic components such as microchips, solar panels and the computer processors. And now what is mean by microprocessor? See, like how we have a brain, which is the central processing unit of the human body, we have these microprocessors as the central processing unit of any computers, right, or any software devices that we have. So what do basically these microprocessors do? It is responsible for processing all the informations, doing complex mathematical problems, collecting data, retrieving the data, transferring data, and do all sort of things. So it is made up of n number of transistors placed on the single integrated circuit. We call that as an IC circuit or chips, right? So this is all about microprocessors. So it is a tiny chip that contains millions of transistors and perform calculations, executes instructions, and it also controls the computer functions. And how these microprocessors are made? They are made with the help of silicon. Can we have some of the examples of microprocessors? Yes, we have Intel Core i5, we have AMD Ryzen, and then Apple M1. So you will be familiar with all these terms, right? So these are some of the microprocessors that we talk about. And now moving on to this slide, how did Bengaluru become the Silicon Valley of India? Because it is important to know the history, right? And only then we will be able to analyze what are the conditions favored in India and what are the lessons we can learn from Bengaluru. Okay, so we know that now it hosts almost 80% of large IT firms have offices in Bengaluru with 4 million employees in the IT sector and software exports, but 40% of countries total software exports. So what are the conditions that favor this? Because in 1990s, Bengaluru were able to export only 16 crore worth of software. Okay, but now how it is even possible for Bengaluru to contribute to almost $65 billion worth of exports, that is software exports. So these are the questions that we are going to find answers now. Okay, so starting with the developments that favored this, we are going to see the developments in phases from very right 1900s onwards, right? So see, during 1900s, we had these region called as presidencies to be ruled by the kingdoms, right? Kings. And so this particular place was under the Mysore presidency ruled by Krishnaraja Vadayar IV, and he was an extremely development oriented person who always thought about development and made so many things for the development of the particular region. Okay, so he even granted lands for setting up of colleges like National Institute of Technology. And that is how he was able to improve the literacy rate of the country. He even organized an economic conference, which was very, way ahead in those times, where delegates and experts from the economy background participated in the conference, and as a result of which a particular decision was taken in 1911 itself, that is to make primary education compulsory in the region. Okay, so he made primary education compulsory in 1913 itself, but it took nearly 100 years for the independent India to make its primary education compulsory under our constitution, fundamental rights, right? Okay, so as a result of which the literacy rate in the country, literacy rate in Bengaluru in 1951 was 43%, right? So literacy rate was 43%, and when compared with the national average, it is very, very high. National average was only 18% at that time. So what do we conclude with this? We conclude saying that this particular effort of making the primary education compulsory made the literacy rate to improve. With education came the skills, and with skills came the industrial opportunities to Bengaluru in 1951 itself. So what happened after that? And after 1950s, this particular development happened. Okay, that is Bengaluru transformed itself into an IT powerhouse of India. Why so? It is because we learned that Bengaluru had very high literacy rate and the skill development. This made the government of India to set up large public sector enterprises and public sector units in Bengaluru. Some of the examples are Hindustan Aeronautics Limited, and we have BEL, we have Bharat Electronics being set up in Bengaluru. In addition to that, we also have out of some 77 research and development sectors, 40 plus R&D centers were located in Bengaluru, including the ISRO. Okay, so these are the conditions that favored for the early setting up of important industries, important centers in Bengaluru. And most importantly, it is because of the education and availability of the skilled labor force at that time itself. So this attracted the other economic opportunities also for the region. So we are going to see how things proceeded after that. In 1970s, industrial technology revolution happened, right? In US especially, which increased the demand for the skilled labor force, right? So the labor force demand was very high, but the labor demand was not able to get fulfilled with the existing supply, as a result of which labor cost was very, very high in US. Okay. So because of the technological revolution that happened, the demand for the labor supply was very high, as a result of which the cost of labor was very, very high. So this made the companies in Europe and US to look for some other alternate options where they can find the labor for a cheaper cost, right? So they found out some regions like Mexico, India and China where the labor cost was comparatively less. Say for example, in India, the labor cost was just 265 rupees in 1951. In China, in 1970s, the labor cost was 3 times less than the labor cost in the US, right? So initially these companies planned to set up their manufacturing centers in these regions like Mexico, India and China so as to get the labor cost affordable, right? Okay. So this led to setting up of manufacturing hubs in countries like India. So they preferred underdeveloping and mostly developing countries. Okay. So what happened in 1970s? After 1970s, the rise of software has happened. Why so? It is because of this microprocessor. This is something which led to a revolution. It is because it finds applications across all the fields and now everyone wants to invest in this particular production, right? But then it needed a very skilled labor force so as to, make the codes for it, right? So this necessitated the coding skills and this, led to the rise of so many software industries and the software sector started to boom and the demand for very high skilled labors across the world was there. Okay, so the government now tried to facilitate this thing and make use of this by taking the opportunity where it went for reducing, government of India went for reducing tax reductions and came up with liberalization so as to attract so many software companies to, make use of this software boom. So talking about the tax reduction, what did the government of India do? The government reduced the taxes like income tax. It also reduced the corporate tax. It reduced the customs duty. Okay, so it reduced the import tax from 100% to 60% for software items. So these are some of the measures taken by the government to encourage investments. It also reduced its control on these particular software sectors and textiles, etc. So all these conditions favored India in attracting the software companies into India. So this facilitated import and export of software products in India. So this is how the story goes now. And what happened in Bengaluru that made Bengaluru to attract all the opportunities that India had? Let's see it now. The Karnataka government followed Israel model. Okay, we will come to that later. It initially started to set up software technological parks, right? So it granted tax exemptions in the particular region for the software companies getting, placed there with high-speed satellite links, and then it also provided reliable electricity supply. So these conditions favored and attracted so many software companies across the world to have its base in the particular region. In addition to that, it also gave tax waivers. Okay, so we already had some tax reductions made by the government, right? In addition to that, it also granted even more even more tax benefits to the people setting up their plants there. So it also followed the Israel model. So what is this Israel model? See, in 1980s, Intel and then all other companies like Motorola moved to Israel. It's mainly because the government went for liberalization, privatization, and it also started to fund all these companies. Okay, so these are some of the measures taken by the Israel, and Bengaluru followed the similar patterns also. So this also paved way for Bengaluru to reach what it is today. And talking about the LPG reforms, we know that 1990 we had BOP crisis, so followed by which we opened up economy. This led to increase in competition. We reduced the tax barriers. Ease of doing businesses was there because the government reduced its control, right, across all the sectors in the economy. We have heard about this reservation, de-reservation, de-control, deregulation. So pricing policies all together favored way for the boom of the software technology hubs in the country, and this is something that contributed to the growth of the services sector altogether for India, where we witnessed a transformation directly from primary sector to the tertiary sector, right? So this is the number of MNCs that was set up per month in Bengaluru. In 2003 we had 6 MNCs per month getting set up. Okay, so this is something which culminated into 20,000 technological startups by the year 2020 in Bengaluru, provided 2,000 crore in funding, only by the Karnataka government, created 50 incubators in tier 2 cities. This is again one of the things which was done by Israel. So it provided financial support to startups up to rupees 3 lakhs, and it also gave full reimbursement of VAT and GST. And then it also reduced the application cost of filing patents so as to reduce the entry barrier of registrations, right? So these are the measures taken up by the Karnataka that favored Bengaluru to become what it is today, that is the Silicon Valley of India, with world's 8th best startup ecosystem and India's first best startup ecosystem. 40 out of 104 unicorns in Bengaluru, and it has 1,400 IT firms. And we also say that this particular Bengaluru-Mysuru belt is poised to become the semiconductor hub in the country, right? So we are going to continue from here in the next video, where we will discuss about this industrial corridor and the conditions favoring this, and I will also take you through the prospects of this region and why do we say that is going to be the semiconductor hub, mainly because of the resources that it have. So what are the resources that this particular region has, and how this is going to solve the water crisis which is frequently happening in the place, right? In March we witnessed some severe water shortages, right? And in the another video, I'll also discuss about the India semiconductor mission. This is something which is very, very important because India is focusing so much into that, because this is one of the very, very important sector across the world which is in high demand, right? So if we are able to tap that properly, if we are able to make use of that opportunity properly, so it is going to take us to a next level. So that's it for today, and thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please like, share and comment, and if you have any doubts, please feel free to drop a message in the comment section. So I'm going to meet you in the next video. Thank you so much. Till then, bye bye.